I'm Ashlee, aka Lee Joe, aka 2 E's with 2 degrees, and me and both of my degrees just skipped class with the progress report.
The progress report.
All right, what's going on? It's your girl Lalaa Shepard. This is a new episode of Skipping Class presented by the Progress Report. I got my girl Ashlee Johnson in the building, aka Lee Joe. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy to be here on the progress report.
Yes,
progressive
ma'am.
As fuck.
Okay, progressive as fuck.
It.
Let's be clear. Now, first and foremost, we got to salute to you, and I want you to talk about being a seriel-preneur, and what does that mean for you? And talk about all the hats that you wear.
Yeah, so my very first business was bundles, right? Like a whole lot of people. And I had just graduated from college. I was like part of that crew that graduated and couldn't find a job. So he wasn't my husband at the time, but my husband was like, you should get into bundles. Like, people always complimenting your hair. So I'm like, cool. So that was my very first venture. And my husband did bankroll me, but everyone after that has been me on my own. So I started with the hair, and then I got into real estate. When I moved to Atlanta, I got my real estate license. And real estate, like, I've done so many different lanes. I went from management to leasing to residential transactions, like cash deals, which is how I got to Miss 29 Million, the lease purchase guru of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so what we did with that was say, hey, you got a 580 credit score. You make at least $45,000 a year. Instead of renting that house, you can rent it, but I can give you the option to buy it. So we were able to help hundreds of people literally like pick a house that, like, I would rent this, but I would also buy this and rent it until they could buy it. Our rental rates were locked in for 5 years. Our purchase rates were locked in for 5 years, which was like unheard of.
Hell yeah.
So from real estate, it went to me as a brand. And so unfortunately I did lose my husband to gun violence. And so when that happened, turning that pain into purpose, right? And things that I've always done. I have my bachelor's is in journalism. You can look up old YouTube videos of me and celebs and stuff like that, but that took on a different life with this pain that I experienced.
Yes,
so then it became Ashlee the brand, and it became my book. It became my podcast. It became me as a public speaker. And in addition to that, I also am co-owner of Derby Week Boutique. So we sell, I'm a Louisville girl.
Yes,
so Kentucky
Midwest.
Derby. Yeah, Kentucky Derby. Well, okay, that's debatable now, Lalaa. So
Kentucky is the Midwest.
Kentucky is the South. Kentucky is the literal beginning of the South.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have to get into
Ohio,
that.
so I'm saying y'all next to us, that's the Midwest, but
Ohio is definitely Midwest. This is anybody from anything above Kentucky. Indiana, Ohio, anything above Kentucky considers Kentucky the Midwest. I mean, anybody.
Yeah, you had it right.
Yeah, y'all do.
Ooh.
Anybody
just
south
us.
considers Kentucky north.
Interesting.
Anybody
I've never heard
from
that.
Kentucky considers Kentucky the South.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
so yeah, I'm co-owner of Derby Week Boutique. We make
Nice.
custom Derby apparel.
Nice.
And then outside of that, I own a tax business. Ace
Yes.
Tax Prep. This is my 7th year in business.
Nice.
So I am. That is what a seriel-preneur is.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
all of the things. I do not. A realtor I met in Atlanta when I very first moved here, boss. I mean, like, just giving boss vibes to
Yeah.
the point where I said, what do you do? And like, can you give me advice? Just
Right.
young, seeking information.
Absolutely.
And she told me, think big. Any idea you ever have, take that and then think, how big can it go?
Yeah.
And make that the goal.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've always done.
Amen. So with all of that ambition and hustle, like, where did that come from? Like, in terms of like your upbringing, like, were you always on that type of time, or?
I was always on that type of time.
Okay.
And really it came from not having a lot, like growing
that.
up without. It was times our water was cut off. It was times our electricity was turned off. And my mama was doing the best that she could do.
Of course.
Sometimes working multiple jobs, life it's just
Hey.
hard. And she was doing it by herself, right? And so as hard as I seen my mama work to take care of us, I just felt like I never want to have to be in that same situation. I never want my kids to grow up the way I've had to grow up. And that was really like that battery in my back of like, you have to do something more. And then just being from Louisville, like it's not a lot of opportunity in the city. And so, you know, even moving to Atlanta and really trying to give my kids those opportunities that I didn't have.
I get it.
It comes from my environment. You know, I'm literally a product of my environment. And that's the good and the bad. That's like,
Facts.
you know, all just like the culture of what it is being from Louisville.
Yeah.
But then also like the fucked up shit that come with being from Louisville.
Amen. Now, it's interesting, you know, how our dynamics shape us. You know, I think when you in certain situations, it's like, dang, you just don't get it. But, you know, as you adult, those hard situations, you know, make you into the person you are, you know what I mean? So I totally get it. Now, tell me about, you know, eventually adjusting to, you know, Atlanta, because like I said, I'm from Ohio too, so I'm sure just like Ohio and Atlanta, two different cultures, Louisville to Atlanta, two different cultures, so.
Oh, yeah. Culture shock.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I walked in the workplace.
Yeah.
Everybody black.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
Yes.
People.
Totally different.
Totally different. Yeah. It like opposites. But also, it's what I love about Atlanta is now I done met some I can cuss, right?
Of course.
I done met some fucked up people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody here, one, is focused.
Yeah.
On what the fuck they got going on and what it is they trying to get to.
Yep.
Two, they want to help other people do the same thing, whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Atlanta. It's like everybody here is doing something.
Yeah.
Versus at home, some people doing something, and then some people, they're never gonna make it out of what we come from, right? And when you have that dynamic, like even living at home now, I've been back for 2 years now. Surrounding myself around people who are on the same path as me, you know, have the same goals, it's cool. But then you got to worry about the people who's watching you.
Yeah. And
they don't have that in them. And so now they envy you because you have that. Or, you know, just the crabs in a bucket mentality that most people from a small town would describe, because it's like there's a limited amount of resources. And so the people who are trying to do something for themselves, they only got what's there. So yeah.
That's real. That's real. You know, and that's the thing I love about Atlanta too. I mean, it's definitely dope to see other people that look like me in so many spaces. So I agree.
Yeah, my son is 5, and yesterday we went to Slough Moo. We went out to eat. Yesterday he says, "Mommy, Georgia has so many brown people like us." You know, we moved, he was 3. So that 3 to 5, I mean, that's my daughter. Lord have mercy. My son is 8.
It'd be like that.
I'm a good mama.
Yeah,
I'm a good mama. Now, my son is 8.
Okay.
And so when we left, he was 6. So like that the way that he's comprehending things is different now. He's like, "Mommy, there's so many brown people. They're everywhere in Georgia."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, they are.
Yeah. Amen. Now, I do want you to talk about dealing with the tragedy of losing your husband to gun violence. You know, just open up about like what happened exactly and describe the type of person that he was.
Man, he was, when you think of like that funny nigga from the hood, always cracking jokes, always got a blunt in his mouth, always willing to help somebody, good-hearted, adventurous. I mean, I met this man, he's like, "Let's go race go-karts today." I was like, okay. And was stuck with him ever since. You know, dreams bigger than where we came from, which is really like what, you know, combined us together. It was like, okay, we both, because if it's me dating anybody, you got to be able to dream as big as me. Because if 100%. Not, you laying next to me in bed talking, "Shit, that's too much. That ain't even going to happen." Nah, I need you to be able to think big, babe. And so that's what like connected us together. That's the type of person he was. give anybody the shirt off of his back. But if you fuck with that man,
yeah, it's going down.
It's going down. You know, and not glorifying violence at all, but being honest and just authentic about who my husband was. And anybody who know him don't fool with him. And so that loss, man, I mean, it's like a tree that falls in the forest, and that sound just echoes through. That's what it feels like. And so as that sound travels further, it's not as loud, right? So it's not as loud as year 1 or year 2, but in year 5, I'm still hearing the echo of that. And feeling the impact of it. And then I mean, it was just a normal day for me. I'm cooking dinner. My husband's like, I'm about to go to the store real quick, make his play, grab what you need. I'll be right back. He goes to the gas station. 20 minutes later, the DeKalb PD is at my door telling me, your brother's dead. Open the door. We don't care about the weed. And so now I'm like, for one, the police is at my door. I'm nervous.
Of course.
I'm not opening the door unless you have a warrant. So that's where my mind was. Like, I'm not opening my door without a warrant. And then when they say, like, your brother's dead, in my mind, I know it's my husband, right? Because my brother's not here. Ain't nobody to be my brother. But the fact that y'all assume we were brother and sister, as if like 2 young black people with the same name can't be husband and wife, they got to be siblings, was crazy. But yeah, I mean, that's the day that my life changed forever. And I'm in Atlanta. All my family's in Kentucky, so ain't nobody here. He had totaled our car. He got into a car accident Christmas morning and totaled like our little lemon, what we call it. So when he got killed, he was in the only car we had. Both my car seats is in that car. My baby's 6-7 months old. I can't drive nowhere. He literally got killed less than a block away from my house. But it was pouring down raining. I wasn't gonna take my newborn baby outside in the rain, so I couldn't walk down there. I called 2 Ubers. Neither driver would take me because I didn't have car seats. So I literally sat in my house for 6 hours, not knowing, like, whoever did this, do they know where we live? I know what's in my house. Do they know what's in my house? They're going to try to come back for what's in my house. When I tell you it was the longest maybe 8 hours of my life. And my brother, Jalen, who was here with me last time, he was the first person to get here. And immediately I said, take me to the gas station.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I got there, do you know they left the sheet that they covered his body with, blood, whole sheet's red. Left it in the parking lot after they took him away. So by the time I got there, it was just this bloody sheet, and it was pouring down raining, so it's pools of blood. And I literally just like got down on my hands and knees, and I remember my nose touching the ground, like, you know, that's how close. It was just like, this is all that's left of him.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that day was a hell of a motherfucking day. But I'll say this, and really to anybody who's like struggling with loss, or you in day 1 or week 1, like it's real fresh, or maybe it's not fresh and you just don't know how to bring yourself out of it. You literally just have to wake up every day and do one thing. I didn't shower. I didn't brush my teeth in the beginning. Just walking around funky, arms musty, just smelling bad. But it was like, okay, I took like day 4, day 5, I took a shower. Okay, that's the only thing. I didn't eat today. I didn't brush teeth. I just took a shower, and that's okay. And then build on that. Okay, I took a shower today. Now I got to keep doing that every day. Now I'm going to add brushing my teeth back to the routine. And you literally have to like build yourself back up to living life every day. Because, you know, I was 29 years old. I just had a baby. Really probably postpartum for real.
Absolutely.
I didn't know at the time, but my son was autistic. So we just like, why Ace ain't talking yet? But, you know, like I was dealing with a special needs child. I'm in Atlanta. I'm by myself. I don't have no grannies, no aunties, like literally nothing. And I stayed in Atlanta 3 years before I left. And I really only left because I knew my kids are young. So this is the time. If I'm going to, you know,
do it.
If I'm going to do it now's the time, because my kids will not grow up in Louisville. So by the time middle school comes, we got to be back in the A. And so that's my man. That's what I'm on right now. You know, make a plan, stick with it, wake up every day, do something. And on the days when you don't have the strength to do anything, or if you just can't find your way, for me, it's God, whoever it is for you, faith. You have to have faith. You have to stand on faith, because it's not us that gets us through these things. It is faith in whatever your higher power is. Or, you know, if you feel like it's God within yourself, however you identify some sort of higher power, you really got to tap into that.
Nah, amen, man. I think, you know, just, it's crazy with grief. Like, I lost my little brother when I was 12. And I always felt like, you know, at the time, of course, I didn't understand it. But I'm like, damn, as I got older, I was kind of thankful that I dealt with grief young, just because I felt like it hurt more as you get older.
Yep.
But at the same time, it all hurts, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think,
know what I mean?
Like, I see the difference between my daughter, who was not even 1, you know, when we lost their daddy, and my son, who was 3, and how he still cries at night. He still, you know, holds pictures of his daddy and deals with that, versus my daughter. I think she's just grieving the way that she sees us grieve, you know, because that's the only, she's like, you know, I miss my daddy because I don't have him, but I don't remember having him, and it looks different. But kids are so resilient that I absolutely agree with you. It is different as a kid versus, you know, my stepkids are older, and what that looks like for them.
It's crazy, and definitely sorry for y'all loss, you know.
Thank you.
But talk about turning it around into something positive and starting the Street Widows Foundation. You know, what is it exactly?
Yeah, the Street Widows Foundation is a nonprofit organization that serves women, and it really don't even have to be women, but we say women who have experienced a loss, any type of traumatic or unjust loss. So whether that's gun violence, whether that's police brutality, whether that's incarceration, whether that's drug overdose, for some people it's suicide, for some people it's medical malpractice, anything that is unjust or traumatizing, it's like we're just left out in the streets to deal with that ourselves. We really don't have a lot of support for these particular types of situations. And so that's what Street Widows Foundation is standing in the gap of grief support and really like focusing on the women. Every day we see a rapper get killed. Every day we see somebody from our hood get killed. Just people die every day.
Yeah.
And where's the organization for these women, whether it's the wife, the girlfriend, the baby mama, whatever it is? Like, we know 9 times out of 10, there's a woman left to pick up those pieces. And so Street Widows Foundation, one, I'm on a mission to unite the street widows, right? Because there are street widows in every city, every town, every state, every country, if we take it that far.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is a movement that can be built out of a coalition of these women, and we can really impact change. And so I'm on a mission to really unite street widows in this grief journey, but also being very real everyday support. So if that's funeral expenses, if that's communication money for your loved one who's incarcerated, if that is housekeeping, child care, if that's going and getting a mani-pedi so you can just feel good and get back to you,
that's solid.
These are all the support. And of course the mental health aspect, that goes without being said. But I do like to share more of the practical things, because people may feel like, oh, I don't need to talk to no therapist, so I'm not ready for that. But you need your house clean. Yeah. You need somebody to watch your kids while you plan the funeral. You know, just different things that on the ground everyday support is what Street Widows Foundation is here to be.
Man, I love that. I you know, triple salute to you for turning that pain into purpose.
Got to. That's how you thrive through it. You know?
Got to. I mean, I would love for you and me and Jaye to connect. You know, she has the Black Men Deserve to Grow Old Foundation.
So we was on Instagram Live together, chopping it up one day. Okay. She was in New York at that point in time. Okay. But yeah, Mia, if you see this,
We gonna send
get
it to
back
her.
at me. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, and salute to Mia Jaye, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Golf. You know, I definitely can see y'all doing some amazing things together because I feel like y'all strength. I mean, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? So we gonna definitely speak that into existence.
For sure.
We gonna speak that into
existence. And just
existence.
the way, I mean, like, you see the Mias, you see the Lauren. Like, I tell people all the time, Lauren London is like my angel of widowhood because how poised she has been through this journey, how, like, I'm sure it's very intentional, but to us, it doesn't seem intentional. It just seems like
natural.
Yeah, natural. But she's just like, I wish I could have been as graceful in my grief as Lauren. And as a public figure, you know, she's thinking about way more than me, right? And she knows.
Phones on silent, y'all.
And she knows, I'm sure, you know, in my head, she's my bestie. I'm sure that she knows the impact that she has on our culture and that the way she navigates her grief publicly is impacted by that, you know? But, like, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we see so many of our hip-hop stars and idols and people who we love and admire and mean so much to the culture shot and killed. P&B Rock. Now look how they did his woman. Blamed that girl, ran that girl down through the mud on social media.
So sad.
Then the video comes out, and now we see how it all went down.
And the apologies is never as loud as the, you know, the
disrespect.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's never as loud. I felt so bad. I prayed for her so many times, like, you dealing with that, and then you got the whole world trying to blame you.
It's like, you know, with social media, man, this shit, it's just crazy.
It is.
Now, I do want you to talk about, you know, just having a son with autism, though. Like, could you give us tips for, I would say, the public to deal with or to understand kids and people with autism? Because, you know, my mom's a social worker, so it's just certain stuff that I kind of already be hip to. But I'm saying for the average person, you know, could you tell me like some tips?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. I love that question. My first tip is if you notice something, or maybe you don't even know, maybe you don't feel it, but if people are telling you like, hey, I think, because sometimes it's other people telling you, true. And that's hard to hear about your child.
For sure.
But if you think, or if the people closest to you think there's something, just go get your child tested. Nothing bad can come out of it. The worst thing you can find out is that, hey, my child has special needs and now I can get them the help they need.
Yeah.
Denying it, ignoring it, whooping their ass out of it, like none of that works. And so that's always my first tip is like, if your child, if it's 3 and your baby's not formulating sentences and putting words together the way that you know they should, just go get the test done. Another piece of advice, once you get that information, right? Because then it's life changing. Then it's like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
And what do I do? Resources. I mean, Google. We got ChatGPT these days. Like your school, your doctor, tap into resources. My son at 3 years, when we lost his daddy at 3 years old, maybe had like 5 words in his vocabulary. Last week, it's going to make me emotional. I ain't been able to tell nobody this without crying. Last week, I sat in my son's IEP meeting. And IEP is like a plan that you create for kids with special needs.
Gotcha.
And it tells what type of support and services that they get.
Okay.
They are taking my son out of the special education classroom altogether. Yeah,
that's
big for my son. Shout out the A's. Big A's, not the little one.
Okay, period.
But that's because I was intentional with my child, got him the resources he needs.
Amen.
And listen, I teach college. I don't do K through 12. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not the best person to teach my son. And
that's real.
I feel like we tell parents so much, like, you need to read to them, you need to do this, you need to do that. Baby, Johnny had 5 apples. How many apples Johnny got?
Hey, my mom used to be mean, hit me with a brush and shit when I didn't understand, so that's good that we got people that's patient.
I'm frustrated. So that's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
Let me get my son into something that can give him what he needs.
Exactly. I respect that, and I love to hear that. So congrats to y'all for that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's big for us. That's
absolutely. Just being, just a woman that has suffered a loss from gun violence. What's your thoughts on gun laws and shit like that? Because it's different everywhere. But what's your thoughts?
We need gun reform in this country.
Okay.
100% for sure. It's no reason, and this is me also with my hood hat on. They be laughing at me because I wear all the hats, but being from where I'm from, you got to protect yourself by all means necessary, right? But do I need a semi-automatic rifle? Like,
Feel you.
there are certain weapons. Do we really need these weapons? And right now we do, because everybody has access to them. But if there was true gun reform in this country, everybody wouldn't have that access, and so there would not be such a need for that type of weaponry. And then we talk about people who go and shoot up churches and parks. Literally 2 summers ago, when I very first moved back to Louisville, there was 2 mass shootings. One at a bank full of white people, one down at Chickasaw Park full of black people. And watching the way they handle both of those situations, totally different.
Of course.
So, like, as a person who owns a gun to protect myself, as a person who lost somebody to somebody else's gun, we need gun reform in this country. And it might not help in the streets, because it will, but it may not have the biggest impact in the streets. But guess where it will have impact? School shootings, bank shootings, the things that America cares about. It will have a huge impact there, and then over time, we'll see that impact in the streets.
I did that. I think it's just interesting, just with the guns and stuff. You know. So and
we got a clown for president. Don't get me started. I'm trying not to even go there, but don't get me started,
man. So outside of being an amazing, phenomenal mother and just an overall boss, what do you do for fun?
Get my passport stamp.
Okay,
fly myself out. No, I love to travel. I love to write. I don't have as much time as I used to do it, but I love to write, which is how I came with the 29-Year-Old Widow, Volume 1, the poetry book. Just putting my thoughts on the paper. Something about it makes it real.
Absolutely.
And when I become who I know I am, there will be a time, maybe after I pass, or just, when my kids get older, that they have all of these writings to look back on. And I mean, God forbid my kids ever have to go through what I'm going through with them. But it's like I'm kind of giving a blueprint to how I navigated this grief, how I answered your questions, how I did this so that journey can help somebody else.
That's real.
So writing, traveling, just hanging out with my friends. My friends are all over the world these days. So being able to hang out with my girls, like, that's a blessing.
Amen. Amen. Salute to friends. Okay.
So, what about your friends?
Come on, vocals. So what you got coming next?
Oh, man. Next up, so I'm fresh off the TedX stage.
Yes.
Let me say that.
Okay, period.
Yeah, the truth about solving gun violence is my TedX talk. It'll be available on YouTube very soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
that
huge.
was big for me.
That's huge.
So what's next is Ashlee Amplified, and all things public speaking, hosting, really being able to teach resilience to others, inspire resilience in others, and then just be real without permission. Like, I don't need permission to be real. And what I've learned is that, and I used to need that, right? Like, I used to not feel like I could be myself in the workspace, or not, I have to be these alternate versions of myself, because it was always me, but it was code switching,
I know how it goes.
And I'm in a space now where, baby, I'm me.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I walk in this room and who I am offends you, the room's not meant for me anyway, and I can walk right back out the door. And so now that I'm at that space professionally, personally, I'm really taking that and inspiring other people to get there faster than what it took me, and then encouraging those who are there but are, because it's not easy to be in that space, and encouraging those who are. So I've been doing professional development sessions at different workplaces, at different colleges, doing speaking engagements, panelists, hosting, all of those types of things, but just showing up as I am, in spaces that appreciate who I am.
Amen.
And so the book and link is up. That's what's next.
Let's be clear. Yes, I love it. I love it. Now, my final question for this particular episode, you know, our keyword is progress. So what does our keyword progress mean to you?
Progress means... Progress means so much, right? Progress, essentially, in as simple as I can put it, is forward. It's forward movement. If that's mentally, spiritually, financially, as a parent, as an employee, as a business owner, it's forward movement.
That part.
And the goalpost is yours to set, right? Like, don't let other people set that for you. It's what you set for yourself. But back to what I said at the beginning of his interview, dream big as you can. And if you miss that mark, guess what? Nobody knew it was the mark but you and God. Y'all knew the mark. It's so many times when I set a goal and I don't reach it and everybody's congratulating me on where I got to.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I feel like, yeah, but I didn't do what I was supposed
I know
to
what
do.
you mean.
But nobody knows that, you know, and also just sitting in that success for yourself, because that's what I have to do a lot of times. It's like, girl, you just did that. Like, you want bigger, but everything doesn't have to be done at one time.
Yeah.
And that's the mantra that's on my mirror right now.
Okay.
Everything does not have to be done at one time.
I love that. I love that. Well, where can people connect with you on social media?
I am at the number 2 EES __. By the time you get to the S, I'm popping up. So you ain't even got to type the underscores. But that's my personal page. And then we got Street Widows Podcast, Street Widows Foundation. All platforms, Street Widows Podcast, and then me, number 2 EES __. Y'all come check me out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for this conversation. It was phenomenal. Yes, ma'am.
The Progress Report.